always exciting to see what's going to happen and for the 60 days to come. So hopefully I'll be smiling at the end of the day. Questions?
Ron, this day has been kind of a long time coming for you. What's the feeling like for you today, finally getting to manage your first game?
Yeah, I think, like you said, it has been a long time. So, with the spring training that got halted when we thought we were getting pretty close, and all that time sitting and waiting at home and trying to figure out what was happening, and then finally getting to this point in the 3 weeks of camp, and so all building up to this point, and I'm excited about it. I'm excited to see what our team's going to do, and it's an opening day is always a different feeling. So even though we waited a long time, it's still great to have it come tonight.
Ron, you had talked about Verdugo being able to hit lefties pretty well. Was that a tough call not having him in the lineup on opening day, or you just go with a strict, righty bat and he was the odd guy out?
Right. We talked about it the last couple of days on how we thought opening day would go against a left-hander. I called him this morning and talked to him about it, and he reassured me that he does hit left-handers well, which I know. We have statistics on him and what he does. I think a lot of it has to do with, with Jackie swinging the bat well this 3 weeks, with Benny swinging the bat well this 3 weeks, and then with Pilar, I've kind of slated him into that spot in right field. So, but things definitely could change Sunday when we face our next left-hander. So, I'm looking at 9 innings from certain guys and how many times we feel we're comfortable with them going in a row. And even though we know we need to win all these games, I still don't want to have them out there too often with 9 innings at the beginning of the season I know they're built up, but until I really feel good with that, there'll probably be some changes.
Ron, how good?
In mid-game, Ron, there's some righties coming out for Baltimore. Could you pinch hit there, or are you likely, once you put a guy in the lineup, you're going to stay with him for the night?
No, I think pinch hitting definitely is a possibility. But I also know how hard pinch hitting is. And if you're in the game, you've got a better chance of producing, even though maybe it's that arm that's coming against you that maybe is not your strong point. So yes, I would pinch hit. I know I get numbers on things, and numbers are really bad when you look at pinch hitters. So that may make a difference, but it just depends on the situation. It depends on whether we need a ball put in play, or we have the chance of maybe driving a ball and who that person's going to be.
Ron, how good of a feeling do you have for what you're going to do late in games, and if the extra inning situation comes up, what were you able to, you and your staff, determine in the brief summer camp period about that?
Right. Well, we have a good feeling on how I'm going to go about the late innings, and we have confidence in those guys. We have confidence that if we need to pick up some innings, that we have guys that can do that. And then certainly closing the game, you guys know we're with probably Barnes in the 8th and Work in the 9th. Although Barnes could change depending on the lineup, he could go an inning earlier. So we're looking at it that way, and I think with our team and where we are, bullpen needs to be a strength for us. I'm not afraid to make changes for sure, and it doesn't mean that we're going to just stick with the same plan. I think if things aren't working well, we'll adjust to it. Hopefully this is a good plan going into the season. Hopefully we'll be able to stay with it.
What about the runner on second, I guess, is really what I meant. Like, how comfortable are you with that?
Yeah, the thing with the runner on second is it depends on who it is that's out there that's going to start. So whoever makes the last out of that last inning, who it is. If you look at, again, I got a bunch of numbers on it from Greg upstairs in the analytic department. And if it's an average runner, there's so it's so minimal as to the advantage to pinch running a guy that's a little bit faster. If it's a slow guy, and we've thought about this, and not picking on Mitch, but say Mitch makes a last out in the bottom of the ninth. I wouldn't want Mitch probably to go out there to second base just to start off that 10th inning. So we would probably run for him. And that's why in this training camp, that's why I put Lynn at first base for a little bit, because he is our fastest runner. If I put Lynn out there, I wouldn't want to have to make another switch to put somebody else at first. And so that's we've thought about these things, but it's not that different in any other time in the past that we've had an extra inning game. It's basically the same game. You're playing this extra innings, the leadoff guy hits a double, and there you are. So we've had this, even though we don't run it all the time, we've had this come up in multiple games through our career.
Ron, what's your thoughts on the new wild card format? And are you happy with a team finishing under 500 making the wild card?
Well, we know it certainly can happen. Not that it will, but it can be. And I guess I like a big advantage for a team that wins a division. I think that's the most important thing you do. And however you do the playoffs, I think that there definitely needs to be an advantage for that team that wins their division. But if you're in a position where you're a good team and maybe you're in a really good division, which we feel like we are, we feel like we're playing against the National League East, which is a really good division. So I think knowing that if we have that extra playoff spot or two, it helps us. And I'm not planning to finish there, but if it does and we get in, great. I like the format as far as the 3 games and then the 5 games. I think that'll be an exciting thing to see. So hopefully we'll be a part of that, and I'll let you know after that comes about.
Hey, Ron, just wondering from a sense of what has opening day meant to you over your course of your lifetime in baseball, but also do you get a little bit sense of, especially around here in New England, how much it means for fans to see you guys out on the field with all that's going on?
Yeah, well, I do get a sense of that. I think just the history that's been here in this city, the great teams that they've had in the past. We know how difficult it is with fans not being able to come to the ballpark. But we also realized that we couldn't do it any other way. So for us to have a season this year, we had to do it without fans in the ballpark. And who knows, maybe at the end of the season, maybe that changes a little bit. But we're planning on not having fans, and we know the support we still have in the city, which is huge. We talked about, how important it is to have that home field advantage because you have fans in the stands. And now that we don't have it, we have to create that somehow. So very important. But for me, just opening day, there was a lot of times when it came down to that last day, whether I was going to make the roster or whether I was going to be released or whether I was going to be sent back to AAA. So opening day means a lot to me because there's been a lot of emotions that I've had over my career. So I really like opening day.
Ron, you spoke previously that you think that managers are going to be a little bit more aggressive in this season because it's obviously 60-game sprint, all of that stuff. Do you think that the strategy changes now with the expanded postseason format? I mean, do you think people are going to be now less aggressive now that there's more spots?
I don't think they'll be less aggressive. I think it'll stay the same. I think divisions will still try to be won however you have to go about it, because you do have the home field advantage, and I think that is still important even without fans there. I think teams will still get after it, especially early. I mean, everybody knows we have to get off to a good start. If you start slow, you're going to be in trouble. So we know that's important, and hopefully we're one of those teams that starts off well.
Ron, looking at the left field, a lot of fans are in the monster seats now. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, the cutouts up there. So that's a little interesting. They're probably far enough that my eyesight, I can't tell the difference anyway. So that's probably good. But yeah, that's an interesting concept. I know I saw it when I first started watching some of the Taiwanese games, and like I said, my nephew's over there playing, so he told me about it. But it's some of the teams here, it looks like they're going to do it, and I read what the Dodgers were doing with some of their longtime really fans that have watched their games every day. So it's interesting.
Ron, just how much, I guess, going back to the matchups and lefty versus righty, just, the matchups in general, how much will you guys play the matchup versus, I guess, the person who might be hot this season or something like that, just in general, and how would that weigh into the season?
Yeah, well, I think matchups are important. I think along with the matchups is a guy going good, is a guy struggling. Because matchups, when you're struggling, don't seem to make a difference too much. I know analytically they'll tell me different, but I know it's real being down on the field. The matchups when you're going good, sometimes if it's always been a bad matchup, that, and so that can make a difference. I think sometimes the matchups, if a guy's going really good and he's done poorly against that pitcher, maybe I'd make a change there. But the other way, I know for sure when you're going bad, it doesn't matter who if you're a hitter, it doesn't matter who you're facing, that you're just going bad and you probably won't have a good game. So I realize that, but I also realize that matchups are important.
Is there any more, I guess, pressure to play, for lack of a better word, pressure to play, I guess, the person who is, hot in a 60-game season versus like the matchup over the long haul?
Yes, I think it is important with a player that's hot. As you guys know, certain players, when they've got hot, have been able to carry a team for weeks. We saw it with Devers last year and what he did for 4 months. We've seen it with Jackie in the last 2 years, the second half of the season. So, yes, absolutely. If there's somebody that's on fire, they're going to be out there more often.
And just lastly, in the spring, you talked about, potentially stealing more bases. Is that still the case now?
Well, it's kind of your personnel, and I do think we have some guys that run well. We don't have just blazing speed where we have guys that that I plan on stealing 50 bags a year. There's not too many of them out there anymore, and the importance on a stolen base, I think, is still there. But you certainly can't run it into a bunch of outs. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see what the pitchers we're facing, if they give us that opportunity to steal, which means that if they have a high leg kick and the times are right with how the catcher throws a second, we'll still be aggressive in those situations. But pitchers, sometimes they go into these slide steps and it really doesn't give the opportunity to steal many bases.
Ron, with Martin going tomorrow, how important is it, given the rest of the rotation, to get some good innings out of him?
Important, obviously, going in to do the third game. We feel good about Weber, but then the fourth and fifth, as you know, we're going to piece together. So it's always important for us to get those innings. We do feel like with a 15-man staff that we can cover it. But you still, I'm hoping he gets off to a great start and he's able to give us the innings and able to lock it in, and we have a good couple months from him.
Did you see him sort of gradually improve over the last 3 weeks or so?
Absolutely. His last start, I thought was right where he needs to be. I know he said he felt like he had the velocity when he needed it. He didn't show it every pitch, but he said it's there. So I think as we continue to build him up, to get his command right, to get his velocity right, that he's going to be the pitcher that we expect.
He's probably taken on a more prominent role than you envisioned when you first signed him. But, given his experience, is he set up to handle something like that?
He's set up to handle it, no question. Now, whether he pitches well or not, that's always up in the air. But we feel confident in what he could do. And for sure, being the number 2 guy isn't going to bother him mentally. He's very confident. He's had lots of experience. And so that shouldn't be a factor in how he pitches. All right. Well, thank you, guys. We'll see you after the game.